Hello and welcome back to another video today here again on Forza Horizon 5 to test out another new festival playlist car, which today is the Noble M600. So yesterday I did take a look at the older Noble M400, which was part of the car pass, which was in there because it was, well, a brand new vehicle to the Forza franchise. But the M600 has been in several motorsport games and every previous Horizon game. So usually I wouldn't test it out, but I do particularly like this thing, and back in Horizon 1 I can remember using this for a lot of the speed traps and speed zones and things like that. So I did want to give it a go here in Horizon 5, despite having driven it in, well, all previous Forza Horizon games. But anyway, the M400 we tested out yesterday. If you haven't seen that video, do go and check that one out. Went up same time yesterday. But that was the final version of the Noble M12, and the version we had in here was from 2006. So this car is a 2010 model of the M600, so 4 years newer, and they were building these until 2018. So you might remember the M400 yesterday I said had a Mondeo engine. This has, well, a Volvo engine, a V8 developed in joint between Volvo and Yamaha, with some of the components of the car from Aston Martins and Jags, so a bit of a kind of parts bin car. Kind of like I said with the M400 yesterday, bodies made in South Africa and engines borrowed from Fords. They kind of got other people to make all the bits, so it's kind of like that, which makes sense from a small company like this. But anyway, the Volvo V8 engine produces 650 horsepower, 820 newton meters of torque, and the car weighs 1,250 kilos, so it is a bit heavier than the M400, as you might expect with a bit of a bigger engine, which brings the PI to S1877 from standard, so it is a good chunk higher than the M400, being more powerful and probably a lot faster. This is more of a supercar, where that was more of a track sports car. So apparently it should do 0 to 60 in 3 seconds and go on to a theoretical top speed of 225, which we will test in a second, because in reality 215 is the highest speed that's been proven with one of these. There were 3 versions offered, the standard one which we have in this game. They did then do a carbon one, which was made from carbon, and a speedster where you had a removable targa top. But yeah, this one is a standard, and you might remember them taking this when they did the cars that aren't a 458 challenge on Top Gear, where they took 3 supercars to Italy, and the clutch failed on this, and they had to have a new one driven over from the team, by the team from Noble, overnight to, well, replace it, because, well, that was the only way they could get a car out to them for filming quickly enough. So hopefully nothing like that will fail today. It shouldn't, we're on a game. But anyway, let's head out and give it a quick drive before we take it over to the festival for its lap time. So, here we are out of the festival in the Noble. Let's first of all pull out onto the road and see what 0 to 60 in 3 seconds feels like, although I'm probably going to just wheel spin it, so actually we can do it properly. There we go. Not far off, so yeah, it's fast, basically. We will head up onto the highway in a minute and see if it will hit 225. Might require the downhill section to manage that, but given we're up to 180 already, doesn't handle brilliantly. Definitely doesn't have the handling of the M400 or any of the previous Nobles, which is kind of to be expected. But yeah, this was kind of more of a supercar. That was a track-focused car, so this has got kind of more weight and was focused on 0 to 60 times on top speeds rather than handling. So yeah, bit of a different car to that, but it's a better looking car. I do like these. You know, it doesn't handle badly. It's still a light car, just not to the same level as the M400. The interior still being fairly basic, as you would expect from a small car company like this. I like the Rev Counter actually, with that massive red band. And you've got all your carbon fibre in the middle. I like the fuel, oil and temperature dials being over there, that's kind of cool. But yeah, minimal interior. So now the question is, will it hit 215 or 225 or somewhere in between? So let's just floor it down here. We probably won't hit it till the downhill section. Let's see what it can do. Well, we've soared past 215 on the flat. There we go, 225, 226. We've gone past even theoretical top speed. Okay. 227, and that feels like it's gear limited there. We're right on the limiter in 6th. So we're going to have to say 227 is the top speed. I will see what it does on the downhill anyway. 236, not bad. So it's very fast in a straight line, doesn't handle too badly, but what will it do when we take it round for a lap of the festival circuit? So, as with all new cars, it was given 5 laps around the festival, and what I'm showing you here is the fastest lap. So, for reference, the M400, I know it's a lot lower PI, so it's not really comparable, did a 104.298, and the cars that are at similar PI are the Aventador SV and Huracan Performante, both doing 101s, 101.0 for the SV and a 101.2 for the Huracan Performante. So yeah, this car drove really nicely. I did keep messing up through that corner, hit the wall on the first 2 laps through there. And there was one lap where I was going faster than this, where I missed the final checkpoint, so potentially I could have gone 2 or 3 tenths faster than the lap time I'm going to, well, reveal to you at the end. But yeah, it drove nicely, handled better than I thought it would actually, because I thought this was kind of a more powerful, less handling-based Noble, which is true, it doesn't handle as well as the M400, but yeah, it's still a very, very good car around the track, as well as having that amazing top speed and fast 0-60 time. So yeah, it does do a reasonable lap, but not quite as good as you'd expect based on its PI. So yes, despite the Noble being a bit higher PI than the 2 Lamborghinis at 877, where the Aventador SV and Huracan Performante are 872 and 874, it does only set a 101.5, so it is a little bit slower than both of those. Yes, those had the advantage of all-wheel drive, making it kind of easier to set faster times, but I feel like this probably should have gone faster than them. I mean, maybe this is just faster in a straight line, doesn't handle quite as well as the Lambos, but they should be heavier, so I would have expected the Noble to be slightly better around the track, although like I said, on one lap I was going faster, I was going to beat the time by possibly up to 3 tenths, I think, when I missed the checkpoint, which would bring it down to about the same time as the Performante and a little bit off the SV, which would kind of make more sense. But anyway, it's there or thereabouts around the 2 Lambos that are similar PI. So not too bad standard, but a little bit slower than I would have expected. So let's build it to the top of S1 and then see how it does compared to all the other cars I've taken around. So yes, despite it being 877, I am still going to try and build it to S1, just because I don't really like anything faster than that. And we've already got a number of S1 class times on the leaderboard. So, as usual, let's take a look at the engine swaps and aero and appearance options, just to see if there's anything unique or different. Not looking like there's many engine swaps compared to the recent cars. We've got a V12, a V12 and a V8. Okay, as usual, I won't do those. You've got your usual all-wheel drive swap. And in terms of aero, I'm expecting normal Forza bits, which I don't think actually look as bad, not as bad as they do on some cars. That actually looks quite cool with the front aero. But yeah, I'm not going to go down the route of making it handle better like I did with the previous Noble, because that didn't really work very well, and we've not got that much PI to play with. So I might do tyres and a bit of power. So to begin with, I put on full width semi-slicks and put a gearbox in, and found it was already S1 900. So I reduced the width of the tyres to standard, but left the semi-slick compound on. Then added the gearbox and a bit more power, got it up to 708 horsepower, so a 58 increase there. It does weigh a tiny bit more, but it's kind of minimal difference. Let's see how it compares to the other cars I've taken round, fastest of which is still the XJ220 TWR. So, as with the stock version of the car, I've given it 5 laps around here once it's modified to the top of S1. Now, it did feel very quick actually going round, and although this is the fastest lap, I did feel like on some of the others I was going faster, and then kind of I was pushing it too much and ran into trouble. So this ended up being the fastest one, but yeah, it did feel quick. So I think it should really have gone, like it did stock, it should really have gone a little bit faster than this. But yeah, it was very nice to drive as well, nice and balanced, so I will potentially tweak this a little bit and use it for S1, because yeah, I do think it's quite good. It drove better than the other Noble modified. The other one was obviously nice as stock, but yeah, this is, despite not having much PI to play with upgrades, I think it was decent. I do need to run some other S1 class cars round that aren't necessarily new vehicles as well, although the XJ220 TWR is quite a good benchmark to have at the top of the board. But yeah, so the Noble slots into 5th place on the modified cars leaderboard with a time of 59.526, making it the 4th fastest S1 class car, with the fastest car on the board being the X-Class FXXK Evo. So yeah, it does reasonably well with a 59.5, at least it gets into the sub 1 minutes, unlike the Noble yesterday, which was a second slower than that, at the 1 minute 0.6. So it beats the XJ13 and beats the Mazda RX-7, but is still slower than the Lamborghini Urus, which is rather worrying. Also slower than the 911 Sport Classic and the TWR, which is kind of to be expected. But it's only 4/10 slower than the Jag, and I think with a clean lap, which I think I did better laps with the Lambo and the Porsche, I think with a good lap it would be faster than both of those, and second only to the Jaguar, which isn't too bad going, given that that is a fast car, not necessarily with that tune on, but we know the Jag's fast. So yeah, it's not too bad from the Noble. I do still feel like I'm quite comfortable driving it, despite not getting a clean lap in. So I think it would still be a good car, more so than the other Noble, which I struggled to get a good time out of. I think this will be quite fast. I can't remember if it has been previously. I think in motorsport games it's generally quite good. But anyway, did enjoy driving this one. Like I say, I don't usually drive cars that are returning from previous games, but I do rather like the Noble. But yeah, I'm still not sure how I feel about them adding cars into festival playlists, pretending they're new when they're not really. But at least they're in there rather than Car Pass. Car Pass is all new stuff, this time at least, which is nice to see, because obviously that's paid. We don't want to pay for stuff that's returning. But yeah, it's nice to see the Noble back in here, along with the new Noble M400. So yeah, do go and give it a go, even if you think you've driven it in previous games. So it's not worth it. I do still really like this car. It's pretty quick stock, did a pretty good lap around the festival, and tuned to S1, it's not bad either. So yeah, I do still rather like this car, and like I say, I've enjoyed driving it through all the Horizon games, so kind of had to come in and give it a go. But there you go, that is going to be a first look at the Noble M600 here on Forza Horizon 5. I will be back same time next week with the new Car Pass car and new festival car if there is one. And we've also got the Forza Edition Mini to take a look at, which I should have unlocked by next week. So there will be a video coming on that sometime soon as well as plenty more car review style videos on cars on Gran Turismo. But for now, for a first look at, well, first look at the Noble M600 on this game, that is going to be all. So thank you very much for watching, and I will be back with the next video very soon.